Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Oh, I'm over here. Got the wrong camera. How's that? There we go. Welcome everyone to my Sunday live stream and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I hope your day is very special, and if you're watching this later, I hope you had a great day. Father's Day's always been a great holiday for me with my dad till he passed away a couple years ago, but I have very fond memories, and I wish you all the same. Um, Anyhow, there's a lot to talk about. I didn't stream last weekend because I took a little road trip, and I posted some vlogs about that. And a lot of you enjoyed those. I really appreciate the all the great feedback I got on those, and I had a great time. And I'll talk about that too. Um, God, I did so many things and learned a lot too, actually. Um, because I did a wedding for a friend of mine, someone I used to work with, gosh, like 10 years ago. But we've kept in touch, and she got married last week, and she asked if I could do the photography. She offered to pay, but I say, don't worry about it. I've never done a wedding before or portraits. This really be a learning experience for me as well, and it was. And I'll share that with all of you. What some of the mistakes I made. I'll show you some of the images. I got their permission to show some of the photos, but I did some photos and video, and I got, I brought 10 times more gear than I needed, and God, I made so many mistakes. Also, I wanted to talk about the two new releases from Olympus, the EP7 and the 8-25 f4 Pro lens. Those are two interesting products that have come out recently, and I think, yeah, I'll give you my opinion on those products. And then let's see what else. Yeah, the road trip. The road trip was something else. I tell you, if you guys saw my vlog where I hiked up that Seneca Mountains, it was supposedly it's only 800 feet of elevation, but God, it felt like a lot more, and it was so long. It's just a testament to how out of shape I am, because I remember hiking for hours, up steep inclines just like that, and with a backpack. When I used to shoot Nikon, we're talking about 7 years ago probably, but I'd have like a 30-liter backpack full of gear, going up a mountain with my dog, and I was fine. And now, oh wow, that was rough. But anyway, let me check in, see who's here. Scott Mumford, good to see you. Happy Father's Day. Great Vancini, always good to see you. And Music Sound Gear, Christine, always happy to see you. And Amir, Lena Lund, awesome, from Switzerland. Oh, hey David, how are you? Sorry I missed the photo walk this morning. I set my alarm for 5 a.m. so I could be there for sunrise. And it went off, and I opened my eyes and I said, I need more sleep. So I got to readjust my sleep schedule back to where I can get up really early again, because this little road trip kind of messed up my sleep schedule, because I was sleeping in late almost every day. And then when I came back, I didn't have a need to get up early again, right? So all week I've been getting up 8-9 o'clock. And then when you set a photo walk for 5 a.m., I said, well, okay, I'll go to bed early the night before. But we came back from Shenandoah, and I took a nap, and then I was up till like 2 in the morning. Anyway, sorry about that, but I'll be there for Thursday sunset, which is messing up my sleep schedule again, because I won't get home till probably 11 o'clock at night. Let's see. Jeff Painter, good to see you. Serge, hello. David Tellett, hi. Hey, David, Mount Vernon's doing a thing this Friday, some fireworks. I was thinking about going to that. I see David's going, so I might go there. So be nice if you could join us if we go. And I'll text you or something. John Yutze, good to see you. Let's see. Darko, hello. Top of the morning. Hope you're well. Looking forward to your inspiration of the day. Okay. I will try. Andreas, John Allen, Jason, John Truman, good to see you. And Darko, Brad Becker. Gosh, so many. Robin Wong. Oh my goodness, Robin. So this is just early enough for you to kind of stop in. I appreciate that. Everybody, Robin Wong is here. If you're not familiar already with the great Robin Wong, he has a channel here on YouTube that you should definitely check out. And I really like that new series you started, Robin Speaks or something like that, where you just sit down and jibber jabber for like a half an hour. But that's my style, right? I'll sit here for 2 hours and jibber jabber. But I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff today, and hopefully you guys find it interesting. And System Natura, good to see you. Okay, I think I got everybody. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Jesse Espinonia, I'm sorry. That scrolled up so fast I couldn't read it. Terry Noon, awesome photos you've been sending in lately. I have a Flickr group called Rob Trek Community on Flickr. If you'd like to join that and share your photos with the rest of the group, because like I said, a lot of you have gotten to know each other through the chat or through the videos or through my forum, and it's a much easier platform to share your work, and maybe get some critique if you want it, or just show off what you're all about. Okay. Let me check something. All right, so where should I start? Oh, Alberto, hi. Sorry. Talos, Barry, good to see you. Stephen Long, awesome. Where should I start? Man, I guess I'll start with the wedding. So she called me a couple months ago and said, what am I doing June 10th? And I said, oh, nothing, whatever you want, And she said, oh, I'm having my wedding, so I'd like you to come. I said, great, I'd love to come. And she says, I'll pay you if you want to do some photos. And I said, oh, that's okay. I don't know anything about wedding photography. I'll just do the best I can, And so I think it was more like event photography than it was a wedding, because it wasn't very formal. It's only about 30 people, and it was outdoors. Mostly. There's a little bit indoors for the food, but everything was outdoors. And the lighting was all over the place because it was partly cloudy. So sometimes the sun would be full on, blinding, and then other times it would just be kind of cloudy. And I was just, a flash would take care of all of that, right? Doesn't matter if it's bright sun or cloudy. If you're using a good flash, you should be all right. But I don't have a lot of experience shooting flash where conditions are changing all the time, right? Because I've done a few flash videos, but the conditions are pretty straightforward. It's like I just stand in the shade and take a picture. If you look at any of my flash videos, they're either indoors or outdoors. But when I'm outdoors, I'm standing under some shade because I have complete control over my environment, right? Control over the lighting with the flash, control over the position of where I'm standing under some shade, the background, everything. But at a wedding where I really had no idea how things were going to go, because and the wedding itself was only about an hour altogether, maybe an hour and a half. And I'm standing there getting pictures of all the friends and family sitting around just to show who was in attendance. And I turn around and here come the bride and groom and the preacher walking out to the little awning. And I'm like, holy crap. So I got to run over and set up my crap, and and do things quickly as possible. But I did end up getting, at least the money shots were good, because there was one shot that was really good. So let's go ahead and look at some of the pictures. And I want to talk about some of the challenges I had mostly because of my inexperience. If I were to do this same wedding again, I would have done a much better job, like second time around. I just kind of walked in being a fairly competent photographer with lighting and flash, and I know my gear, it's all Olympus. But having experience actually doing it is a whole different thing, right? So let me see if I can pull this up without crashing anything and change my screen. Oh, where's... I need to move this over here. Okay, give me a second. I'm a little rusty here working the live stream. And then I need to push monitor 2 cam left. No, monitor. Oh, 45 people here. Okay. Understandable. Oh, come on. Why is that monitor showing? Give me a second. Let me see if I can switch it. I want monitor 1. That's what it says in the thing here. What is monitor 2? No. That's my thingamajig, OBS. Oh, here we go. All right. I don't know why the monitor numbers changed. It should always be monitor 1, 2, 3, but it's weird. I have this plug that turns the power on and off, one of those smart plugs. And I think depending which monitor comes on first, that's how Windows numbers the monitors. So maybe anyway, let's look at a couple of pictures. And I use Photolab 4, which I'm really enjoying. I can talk about that too if you guys want. Let's start off with like this group shot, right? Okay. So you can see it's cloudy in the background, but the sun was shining, so everybody's squinting, right? And one second. And I had two problems with this. Well, I had multiple problems with this shot. The first one is I stood off to the left side. So everybody on the left side is much taller and bigger than people on the right side, right? So that was mistake number one I made. I should have been front and center. But the problem I had with being front and center and getting everybody in the shot was there was a freaking table there, and I couldn't stand far enough back to get everybody in the shot if I stood in front of the table. So the correct thing would have been to move the frickin' table, right? But I didn't do that. I just said, I'll just step over to the left and take the shot. And this is what happened. Number two is, of course, the lighting is not great. I just used my Godox 8200 with an umbrella and on the left side, but the sun was also coming in from the left side. So I'm thinking I probably should have put the flash on the right side to kind of do a little bit better fill flash rather than having two lights coming from the left, the sun and the flash. So I got these harsh shadows now coming in across everyone. And then the third problem, other than everybody squinting, is I didn't use a front facing flash to get a good key light in everybody's eyes, because everybody was facing the building and there was no key light coming off the building. So, everybody's squinting anyway, so that was kind of a moot point, but that was another problem. And then finally, the last problem I see, and if you guys see any other problems, feel free to shout them out, because like I said, this is the first time I've really tried to do anything. Was on the right side of this photo, even though there was sun, the flash power uh, you know, died off towards the right side. So everybody on the right side was darker. So what I ended up doing was just using, in post-processing, using a graduated filter and brightening up the right side of the photo. I believe that's what I did here. Let me see. Let me see where my graduated filters are. Oh, I didn't use one in this. I didn't need it. I did do it in another photo, but I had a graduated filter over here on the right side on another photo. Maybe it was this one. Yeah. But anyhow, so this one here, at least, I was front and center, right? So, everybody's about the same size and proportional to the rest of the scene. And a cloud came over, so the lighting wasn't quite as harsh, and I still have the flash on the left side of everybody here, or left side of me, the right side of them facing, and this came out okay. Oh, thank you, John. So I'm about 80% happy with this picture. I still have people aren't squinting quite as much, but I think this one came out okay. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think it was all right. And of course the editing. Let me see if I can do it before and after. Oh, no. If I close this down. Now I was using my EM1 Mark III and 12 to 40 Pro. But clearly it was underexposed, so I had to bring the exposure up. And like I said, it was just a rush job. I mean, it felt like from the time they were doing their vows to the time I took this picture felt like about 30 seconds. I mean, things were moving so fast. And but anyhow, I think this came out okay. And then let's see, where's the I want to show you an interesting one. This one here, you'll notice there's not much corrections done. I did a little bit of contrast on this. But this image here is actually a screen capture from the 4K video of the M5 Mark III, because I used the M5 Mark III to do video. And from where I was standing, I didn't get a good shot of them kissing. But the video camera was spot on. It was right front and center. And so I just did a screen capture. And what I really like, look on the left side, it's slightly overexposed, which was, my fault. Especially when you're doing video, it's a little bit of a problem because you don't have as much wiggle room with the processing, right? But, I was just using, I believe, natural profile, EM5 Mark III, natural color profile, recording 4K video. And I did a screen capture. And, the colors and the lighting and everything, I thought this was really excellent for a screen capture. And even when you punch in, can I punch in? Yeah. I mean, the detail is still really good. And this is just an 8 megapixel image off the 4K video. And then this was a problem for me. This was an indoor shot. I didn't use flash. So I had some major white balance issues, right? I had this strong tungsten lighting over the bride, and then I had this strong blue, daylight coming in behind the groom. So I used a graduated filter to kind of fix that, I believe. What the heck? The original looks better than the final. Basically, all I did was crop in, but I thought I did more than that. I thought I fixed this. Well, anyway, can't win them all. I didn't do a good job there, but let's look at the money shot. This one here, right? So there's the original on the left, way underexposed, and then the edited one on the right. But this, the cloud came over and definitely softened the lighting. And then the flash filled in some nice soft shadows for everything else. And I thought at least I got this one right. I was like, holy smokes, other than being grossly underexposed here on the left, the final image, I think, came out okay. No, I didn't do any black and white, Christine. Let's see. Let me look at some comments here real quick. Okay, let me switch back to my. But that's the gist of it. Of the challenges, the typical challenge here was, the harsh lighting from the sun, and then using a flash. So, with a flash, I try to underexpose to bring the highlights in the background down so that, like, if you look at the clouds in the background, I didn't want those to be blown out. So that's why I underexposed. Then I used the flash to kind of bring up the front. But luckily, we have enough latitude in our raw images to kind of bring all the details back, right? And without any noise. And that's what's great about Photolab 4 is it cleaned up all the noise and brought the sharpness back and everything much better than I could do using Lightroom. But okay, let me switch back to the right camera. I want to catch up on the chat a little bit. Where's the right? That's not the right window. This is. Okay. Almost there. All right. Oh, John Truman, good skin tones. Thank you. And Photo says, I like editing. Nice colors. Thank you. And good job from Jeff Painter. I appreciate that. And Christine, my 2 cents. Actually, I like the half circle setup after post because it's more dynamic. Okay. And Robin says, very nice shots. You can consider doing wedding photography. More funds for future gear purchases. Yeah. Weddings are a full-time job, System Natura says. A lot of running around to be in the best place at the right. Yeah, absolutely. Man, I was hustling, because I had to do the video and the photography, right? So I used my EM5 Mark III for the video. And then for the candid videos where I walk around and talk to people, I should have used my EM1 Mark III. But I used my DJI Osmo instead. This guy here. Because it has a gimbal, so I know everything is very steady with this. And there was enough light outside that, the image quality was fine. If I was in low light, no way I could use this. But outdoors, it was perfectly fine. And but yeah, hustling, man, you have to hustle and this was a fast wedding. It was like, do you, you're married. And it was, I just blinked and I'm like, where's people going? I need to get that. Right. It was a great learning experience. So I think, I'd say 2 or 3 more weddings or 2 or 3 more events like that. I shouldn't really call that a wedding because it wasn't a formal wedding in a traditional sense, right? That I see a lot of. It was is more like an event type thing where you're just trying to capture everybody there and what everybody's doing, right? And talk to a few people. So that it was, yeah, I could do a couple of more of those, and I think I can get the lighting a lot better than I did in that shoot, because the lighting was the weakest link in that whole shoot, because like I said, the sun was coming in and out, and I'm shooting full manual for flash, right? So I had to, I had to quickly change everything, and then I would have to take a couple of shots, just to make sure that, one person isn't blinking, or, you know what I mean? You get shots of people with their eyes closed. So I would tell people, okay, 1, 2, 3, picture 1, 2, 3 for luck. And then I would do 2 shots for every shoot. And I didn't really have the luxury of saying, okay, everybody just, stand there. Let me let me get the lighting right, because I'm shooting in full manual, right? If I were thinking straight, because it was really hot too. Everybody was sweating. So I actually had to go in and brush out some shine on people's heads and things like that. So some of the photos took a long time to edit because of all of the shine on their skin. And so I had to kind of brush that a little bit. And again, I used Photolab 4, which it did a great job for me. But yeah, it was definitely a learning experience. The lighting and position of people was my two biggest mistakes, getting through that. But I think they were very happy with the photos, at least. And they're friends, so what are they going to say, right? And they didn't pay anything either, so it was sort of my wedding gift to the bride and groom. All right, let's see. Randy, man, it has been a while. How you doing? And let's see. Robin says, hey, thanks, but really just sent. Oh, well, I don't know what that's all about. And Robert Welch, good to see you. And Stephen Maniton says, I've learned a lot about using my new Olympus OM10 IV after watching YouTube. Oh, great. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of older videos that cover the EM10 series camera, the Mark II in particular, but a lot of that applies to all the OMDs and Olympus cameras, fortunately. And David says, for me, the worst part of wedding is dark churches. Yeah. And restrictions for using flash. Yeah, I bet. And Christine M is asking, do you have a chance to shoot series in order to get the minimum blinks instead of single shots? Not really. If you mean like continuous low shooting or something, it's because the flash has to recharge, right? So I didn't want to risk the flash not firing if I were to do like a series. So I would make sure everybody was ready and count off 3, 2, 1 or 1, 2, 3 picture, right? Doing them very quickly is a problem when you have flash, because it needs time to recycle. I mean, the Godox flash, the 8200 recycles pretty quickly, but there's still a chance for it to misfire. And Linda or John Truman says, I wouldn't want to be a wedding photographer. My worst experience was turning up at a wedding with a camera. The photographer didn't show up, so it was me. Turned out well, but yeah, exactly, right? And Lena Loon says, I feel you. I'm a wildlife photographer, and I was asked by a friend who was a physical therapist for animals whether I can shoot some photos for a flyer. I had no experience photographing inside a practice. Yeah. That's something I would probably be good at, doing indoor photography where I can control, because that's what I do mostly is real estate photography, right? Commercial, architectural type stuff. But I got time to take all my shots, right? I can line up the camera, I can set up the lighting. And the lighting, I know inside out what I need, how much power I need for different size rooms, because I have experience, right? So it just comes second nature. When I walk into a room, I'm like, okay, quarter power, click, it's a piece of cake for me. But when I'm outdoors and the sun is changing constantly, I'm like, oh man, it didn't just come second nature. I had to think. I'm like, And then I didn't have time to think, and that's why there were so many underexposed shots that I had to bring back and post. Oh. And John Yutze says, I shot one wedding, a 50th anniversary do-over, 2 cameras, both with flash on bracket. My friends were happy with the pics, me not so much. It was hard. Yeah. I wouldn't mind doing more event photography for a few bucks, but a wedding where, unless they're my friends and I know them, I would be a little uncomfortable saying confidently, I'll do a good job for you for the money I'm going to charge, right? Because I would imagine I ended up with 70 images altogether delivered and a 12 or 13-minute video. I would imagine that would be a $500 to $1,000 job, commensurate with my level of experience, right? I think I would have charged somewhere in between 500 and 1,000. And I know some wedding photographers charge 2,000, 3,000. Sky's the limit, right? But you have to charge based on your level of experience and what you can deliver. So I'm just, that's just how I feel. Some people might not feel that way. They charge, wedding $1,000 no matter what, even if it's your first one, right? But it was a lot of fun, and I had to take 15 minutes to stop and eat. And a lot of times I'm like chewing food while I'm taking pictures because I was a guest there. And the irony of the whole thing was I was not in any of the pictures, even though I was a guest and a longtime friend of the family. I was not in a single shot. And I don't think anyone else got a picture of me because I didn't see anyone else taking pictures except me. So they, the bride and the family were very sad about that, as well as myself, that I did not get in any of the pictures because I've known them a long time. And and then, but just shows how hard and focused I was working, right? I was really concentrating, trying to do my best in an unusual situation for me. And System Mature says, generally no time for me shooting birds, animals, and insects. To some degree, the same at a wedding. That's oh, okay, I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, it's weddings are I can't imagine like you guys, Robin and Jimmy and maybe Peter, I'm not sure if he's a wedding guy, doing this for a living. I guess it's like anything else, right? You probably can't imagine doing commercial real estate for a living right now. Not right out the gate, right? But after you do it a few times, it probably becomes a little bit more systematic than run and gun, because it felt very run and gun when I was doing that photo shoot. But the if you have a very systematic approach and you a lot of experience, because honest to God, that is only like I think the third wedding I've been to other than my own from like 30 years ago or whatever. I don't get invited to a lot of weddings. And so that's like the third wedding I've been to that I can think of. And in the last and those were in the last 2 or 3 years, right? That I've been to 3 weddings. So I'm getting invited now, but not there was probably a 20-year gap or more since I've been to a wedding. Ooh, okay, Randy, we'll see you later. Thanks for coming in. And what camera and lens for outdoor wedding photos? Bob Finley's asking. I use the EM1 Mark III and the 12 to 40 Pro. That that did all of the pictures I did. I don't see a need for anything else, to be honest, unless you need a wider angle lens. It really depends on how much space you have. But ideally 12 to 40 Pro is all you need. And maybe I missed something here. I've done about 7 weddings in my recent time back in photography, all for free. Simply not interested in the whole process. Yeah. Really, Darko? That's interesting. I didn't know that. Robin Wong says, I am slowly exiting wedding, but when the jobs come, I take them. I don't pursue wedding jobs aggressively anymore. Wedding pays very well, but sucks everything out of you after each job. Yeah, I can see that. I think event photography is a little bit easier, right? Because the expectations aren't quite as high with event photography in terms of like that money shot, right? Because it's your wedding photos. They got to be good, right? Especially if you're getting paid handsomely for it. And Andreas is confirming the 12 to 40 is the best for that. Yeah, I would agree. It was, and luckily it didn't flake out on me that day. It was working great. When I took it out the next day, man, that 12 to 40 was not working. I don't know why. Maybe the contacts were dirty, but I couldn't get it to work. I kept getting a black screen. And then, I'd have been fine with a kit lens, a 14 to 42, because it was outdoors. So I didn't need really depth of field or fast apertures. I could probably got away with a kit lens, but the 12 to 40 Pro definitely has that level of sharpness that when you pixel peep in is really nice, and it allows you to crop in a little bit more without starting to look a little bit soft, right? For a normal wide angle shot, maybe some telephotos, kit lens or pro lens, it's about the same, if you're just going to print them off. But, when you start cropping a little bit or start editing and you need some sharpness, that's when the 12 to 40 Pro really shines and can make a difference. So hence the pro lens, right? I've shot professionally with a kit lens for my real estate stuff, but that was until I bought, the wide angle lenses. Yeah, the 12 to 40s recovered because I took it yesterday to Shenandoah National Park, and it worked fine all the way through. So I guess it's okay. It's not a lens I use very often, but I wanted to, and really Shenandoah is not the place to test for sharpness and things like that, because everything's so hazy and blah blah blah. The 12 to 40 Pro is best for like event photography and general photography, but landscapes and things like that, when things are hazy and lighting's not great, anything will do. Kit lens. Like I'm really impressed with the 14 to 150. I almost wanted to do the whole wedding using that lens. My only reservation was that it's only 14 millimeters wide, and that 12 millimeter makes a difference. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be doing any indoor shots, so being at f2.8 makes a difference, right? Over, say, a kit lens. So that's why I kind of didn't use that. I think I used it on the EM5 Mark II for the video, though, actually. I did use it for video on the EM5 Mark II, or Mark III. But for the photos, I used the 12 to 40 Pro for the photos. And Christine M says, did you have a chance to prep the shooting? Clarify expectations, Scott. No, I had no planning or prep. I was literally just thrown in, and I got there like on a Wednesday night, and I called the bride, and I said, what's the schedule tomorrow? I didn't even know what time we were going to start, you know, because she had set up a bus to take us there. So I got to the hotel, called her, and got the schedule, and it was like, well, from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, we're gonna just do the graduate, because she graduated also with her PhD, and we were celebrating two things really: graduation and a wedding. She said, well, from 1 to 3, we're gonna do the graduation side, and that was a whole long thing. But the wedding was like from 3 to 4. That was it. And so from 1 to 3, I just went around with the video. I did mostly video from 1 to 3 and some photography of capturing who was there, just who was in attendance. And then around 3 o'clock, I just blinked my eyes, and they're walking up to the awning thing. And I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, I was lucky to capture the the beginning of the ceremony, where the preacher starts saying, we're gathered here today, and all of that, right? So I was on a video. But yeah, once I didn't have any idea what the location was going to be like. I mean, they told me it was going to be at a vineyard, so I was the background scenery, the little bit that you saw there, is about what I expected, but we didn't go into the vineyard at all. We didn't really have time. We stayed right on that balcony or patio. We stayed on the patio and did all the photography there. And I wanted to move into the shade under a tree to do the photography, because that I've done many times. And the lighting is fairly consistent when you're in the shade, right? But then the background was terrible. There was like trash cans and kegs and all of that stuff. So I was like, all right, we got to take the pictures out here on the patio in the sun, because everywhere else the background looks like crap, So that was one of the challenges I had. So it was pretty much sight unseen, no planning at all. And clarifying expectations. Yeah, I was very clear, Robin, about clarifying expectations. That I said, this is the first time I've done a wedding or an event, and I said, well, how hard can it be, But I played it down a little bit. But they've seen my photography. They don't really watch my channel, but they've seen my Flickr and my YouTube, and they were like, hey, why don't you take pictures? I was like, okay. Darko says, just a crazy question at all. I washed one of my batteries by accident. If I dry it out, has anyone ever recovered from? Oh, no, I've never done that. Memory cards, yeah, all the time. I'm always finding, man, I found a 256 gig memory card in the dryer the other day. Still works. And John Matthews says, I have the 12 to 40 Pro. I think you could also use two bodies, and the 17 f1.8 and the 45 f1.8. That would work too, but you're still missing a super wide. Yeah, I brought my 8mm fisheye, but I ended up not using it, which I think this would be a good segue to talk about the new camera and lens from Olympus. So let's talk about the camera first. The Olympus ep.7, right? On their pen line. So there's no viewfinder, but it has like a tilt down screen, which I like. So it's very similar to my PL8, which it's in my dry cabinet. But 20 megapixel sensor. So basically it's like an EM10 Mark IV without a viewfinder in a rangefinder style camera. And it looks well built. I mean, I've only seen pictures of it like most of you have. And the features, I like that they put the creative dial in the front for color and mono. And supposedly it has all of the same type things that the Pen F does, with adjusting saturation for individual colors, like a color wheel. Probably has some monochrome settings like grain for the mono. So I like all of that. And, the image stabilization at 4.5 stops is good enough. You still have to follow the old rule of, double your shutter speed versus your focal length. I always do if I can. I never rely on IBIS if I can help it. And it's, I think it was 799 pounds, right? So it might be a $699 here in the US, right? But whatever the price, whether it's $700 or $800, seems like a fair price for a product like that, assuming the build quality is good, and it looks really good. And feature wise, it's an entry level camera that has everything Olympus has to offer in terms of their camera technology, with the exception of the phase detect. So I think, the two things that would have made it very competitive and much more attractive was if they could have just put the phase detect sensor in there for the autofocus and a mic jack. That would have made it a lot more competitive at like $800. Because I think for a little more, the Fuji S10, I think it's about the same price. It has all of that: mic jack, phase detect, build quality. So Fuji has a really excellent entry level camera with the X-T30 and their I think it's an S10 at those price points. So the pen, although it's a little cheaper, and hopefully it goes on sale for like $100-$200 off, so it'll be much lower price than these other entry level cameras. But for somebody that knows nothing about Olympus or Fuji or cameras, right? They're going to be looking at the specs. They're going to be talking to the camera store salesman, talking about the features. And yeah, no mic jack, no phase detect. That's going to be the two things that they're going to say that this Fuji has that this Olympus does not. And it's only the same price or a little more. Because as an Olympus user who has an X-T30, right, I still much prefer taking out my Olympus cameras because I know all of the features that the Olympus cameras have that I appreciate that Fuji necessarily doesn't have. The color science is fine, and I don't worry about that as much as I used to. But I really like the JPEG output that I can get from my Olympus cameras versus what I've been able to do with my Fuji. And the format overall, the size is smaller with the Olympus system. So there's a lot of reasons I prefer Olympus over the Fujifilm camera. Just minor things, right? Because ultimately the image quality, the Fujifilm will do better in low light, right? So, they go to a camera store and they're going to be like, which camera should I get? I really want to get into photography. And I feel like, if you're going down a checklist, people are going to recommend the Fuji if you're a camera salesperson. If I was a camera salesperson, I would point out all of the advantages that Olympus and Micro Four Thirds system has and why I chose it personally over any other system. Mainly the small size, compact, lightweight, and all of the features you get. But, that's just not how it works, I think, in the camera store, where you have a sales rep there that I'm sure is a lot of the sales reps at these camera stores are competent photographers themselves. But they look at the spec sheets and they want to sell the camera with the highest specs and and try to give their honest opinion, I would hope. But that's not the whole story, right? Spec sheets are not really the whole story when you get into photography. But so those are the two things that I think would have made it very competitive. Now, as an Olympus fanboy, right, I love that camera, and I would pick that over any other camera at that price point in a heartbeat. And because I've tried the other systems, like I saw a Nikon Z50 for like $799, you know. And as much as I like Nikon and their color science and everything, I know what's going to happen when you get into that system. I mean, you're going to start getting these humongous lenses. Uh, so that size and weight advantage that you would have with the Olympus system, it just evaporates with the Z system, because the lenses are larger and heavier. Uh, and if you never buy any other lenses, if you're just buying the camera and a kit lens, there's a lot of competition at that price point. So that's the problem with that camera, is there's so much competition at that price point. It just needs those two other things, and then that would have done it. But the idea is that I think that camera is obviously a product of when Olympus was the original owner. Now that OMDS has it, they just finished that project off and put the camera on the market in Europe and Canada, I think. Well, I don't know. Anyway, it's not here in the U.S. and other places. So I think it's a great camera, and I would definitely, if I didn't already have like 10 cameras, I would definitely buy it over any other camera at that price point. But I don't think off the shelf it's as attractive because of the competition. Okay, let me check some comments real quick. EPL9 is a good deal. Yes. XS10. Thank you, Darko. And John Matthews says, I think that the EP7 is that it's only 337 grams. Yes, it's very small and lightweight. It's only 50 grams more than a 20 megapixel. Yeah, definitely. It's very small and compact, and just jam-packed full of features. And there are two other people in the camera club that switched to Olympus, mainly because Dave, who runs the photography club, really enjoy our cameras. And we've been there, full frame Nikons, full frame Canons, we've been there, done that. But when it comes to really enjoying photography, we much prefer Olympus cameras. And know what those cameras are capable of, and we can squeeze every last pixel out of them. And other users that switched for the very same reasons we did, or at least that I did, was we wanted a smaller, lighter camera that takes great pictures. And that's why they're switching or have switched. And of course, I'm always there to help them if they want, being a member of the club. Wow, Robin says he uses a 25 millimeter 95% of the time. Really? And Simon, hello, how are you? And Darko says, I must be lucky as I do both Fuji and Ali, but I agree with Rob that going between menu system is quite tedious. Yeah, it is. And Fuji has a fine menu system. I wouldn't say it's superior to Olympus, other than, you can use the touch screen. But I'm more of a D-pad kind of guy anyway. And yeah, the great Van Cini says he might go XE4 over the new EP. And that's what I mean, is like the competition at that price level is pretty stiff, particularly with Fuji. I forgot about the XE4. If you want that style camera, and the XE4 has a viewfinder too, so it's tough. It's a tough market, and that's not a knock against the Olympus camera, the EP7. It's an awesome camera. It's just a very competitive market. Oh, hey Casper, how are you? And Bob Finley, that's to Tom. Simon says, I have the Fuji X-T20 and like the extra resolution film simulations, but I prefer Olympus cameras. I find them more usable. Maybe I'm just more used to them. Yeah, that has a lot to do with it, actually. For me, is, I know how to use Olympus cameras inside out. If I pick up my Pen F, it's like I'm on autopilot. If I want this scene, or I want this color, I want this shading or tone, whatever I want out of the image, I can get it pretty quickly with the Olympus system. With my Fuji and my Panasonics or my Nikons, I have to think, a little bit first, and then dig into the menu and find it, because I just not used to it. So that's why my Olympus is always my go-to camera. But the reason it's my go-to camera, and the reason I'm so used to the menu and settings, is because it's the one I want to take with me, because the lens system and the overall system is smaller and more compact. And I'm not packing a 30-liter backpack just to go take a picture of some flowers. And Darko got the XE3 instead of the XE4 because of a joystick. Interesting. I'm still not used to the joystick. I like it. But it's not in my muscle memory yet. When I want to change focus points, on my EM1 Mark III, I still use the D-pad. The joystick is just not, it's not in my thumb muscle memory yet. But when I do use it, when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh, this is great, But when I'm out taking pictures, I go right back to the D-pad. And Dargo says, we need to call the Pen F the Pen R. Why? What does R mean? Oh, okay. So anyway, the EP7, great camera if you want to get into the Olympus system. It'll take you as far as you want to go in photography, because of the lens selection, all of the features built in. The lack of phase detect is not a deal breaker, I don't think, for most people, or it shouldn't be. It's just a really nice autofocus system when you have phase detect for video. For photography, contrast detect is fine. But because of the lack of phase detect and lack of mic jack, and people like to vlog, and this is kind of a personal camera, if people want to vlog and do selfies, having phase detect and a mic jack would definitely raise the bar a little bit. And let's talk about the 8-25 f4 Pro lens, because this is a professional lens. The announced price, I think, was like $1,099 or $1,100. And, of all the reviews I've seen so far, it looks to be excellent, as are all Olympus lenses really on the Pro line. They're second to none, in my opinion. And the 8-25 f4 seems to have, all the qualities you would expect from a Pro lens from Olympus. And I think it's really an excellent focal length range, 8-25. It gets you wide enough. 8 is more than wide enough for everything. And being able to go all the way to 25 millimeters is awesome. That means I don't have to choose between my 17 prime, my 25 prime, my 8 millimeter fisheye. This lens will replace all of those when I go out on a normal photo walk. And I can hit every focal length that I'd want to hit for normal photo walk. Because, even the 12-40 Pro, as great as that lens is, it's not wide enough sometimes. It's certainly not wide enough for me to use it professionally for my architectural type photography. But the 8-25, yeah, I can go into the city. I can take a picture of a tall building. I can go indoors. I can get the whole arena, or studio or stage in the shot at 8 millimeters. And then for normal shots, I can zoom into 17, or I can zoom all the way into 25. And those are fantastic focal lengths. And then the f4 aperture is the other attribute, right, of this lens. It's fast enough for most things. it's a stop slower than say the 7-14. So you lose a stop of light versus some of the other pro glass. Certainly not as fast as primes, where you're losing a little over 2 stops versus a prime. So if you're shooting in low light all the time, this may not be an ideal lens. But that's not usually the case. Most people are not shooting in the dark all the time, right? I think for 90 to 95% of people, the 8-25 Pro lens is really the perfect lens for most photographers. And if it came as a kit lens, man, that thing would fly off the shelf. But it's not. It's a Pro lens. So I think a really good alternative is the Olympus 9-18 f4 to f5.6. It's, it's almost half the cost, depending what day of the week it is. I've seen it for as low as a third of the cost used, but it covers almost the same focal range. It's a little bit smaller, right? A little bit thinner. But at that price point, I think if you're looking for a versatile wide angle zoom, the 9-18 is a better choice for most people. But as a super enthusiast or professional, the 8-25 is really a no-brainer. The size and weight is acceptable. It's about the same as the 12-40 Pro, I think, in terms of size and weight, give or take. I forget which one's a little heavier than the other, but if you held them side by side, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference in weight and size. They're probably identical. The other thing about the 8-25 that they really, I'm sure, took a lot of engineering was be able to use a filter ring on it, right? So you can put filters on that lens. That's a big deal, especially if you're into videography and you want to use filters, right? Polarizers or ND filters. That's a big deal. You probably don't want to use a polarizer on a wide angle, but for ND filters, straight ND filters, not variable ND filters, but fixed ND filters, having a filter ring without having to buy some contraption to attach to because of the bulbous lenses that you God, I have one. That's a big deal. That's a big deal on an 8-25 lens. So this lens has, and then of course has the focus clutch, but the main thing is the focusing, having a filter thread ring being relatively compact for what it can do with that focal range 8-25 and a fixed f4 just makes it an excellent lens. And I'm so tempted to go buy it. I will trade in. I have a 7-14 f4 and a couple of the lenses that I could trade in and get the lens probably for about $700 or $800. But I'm going to wait for it to go on sale. $10.99 seems just a little bit, just about $100 or $200 too high for me. I think if the lens was like $8.99, I would definitely buy it. Like if it was $200 less. But it seems like everything's going up in price. All the lenses, cameras, everything's gone up in price. No matter where you look, cameras and lenses are expensive regardless of brand. They've gone up. So I feel like maybe this is the new normal post pandemic, that we're going to have to deal with higher prices. And sorry, I was pushing a button here. Let me switch views just to give you some visual interest. I think at $8.99, I would have this lens. I would go buy it right now if it was on the shelf. But at $10.99, it gives me a little pause. So I'm going to wait for it to go on sale, and then I'll have that lens. And then that may be my everyday lens. It's probably a little bit a little bit heavy on a Pen F because I don't like to use my 12 to 40 Pro because of the size and weight. But the versatility that an 8 to 25 f4 would give me would be worth the trade-off. I'll get used to it. In other words, you know. All right, let me catch up on some chat real quick. Oh, Darko says the Pen R because R for Rob. The Pen F is an extension of your hand. Yes. And there are so many great MFT lenses. We're really spoiled. Such a great value for the money. Agree the 825 is a fab zoom range. It is. And Bob Finley says, you have been lusting for the 8 to 25 since they put it on the chart. Yeah, I know. I want it. I really do, but I just don't have the money no object. Yeah, if I had the money, I would buy it, but I have to be very, very careful with my purchases now, because I've had a streak of like no photo jobs to speak of, and well, anyway, I'm a little bit on a tight budget now, so every dollar counts. A couple of years ago, yeah, it would be if it came out a couple of years ago when I had some decent photo jobs coming in on a regular basis and all of that, yeah, I would have it because it's a tax write-off for me anyway. So I'm paying effectively half the price. But when you talk about cash flow and cash out of pocket, maybe if I can find a 0% deal, because sometimes Best Buy, I try to buy it from my local camera store, District Camera, when I can. But sometimes I'll get a members only thing, 10% off and 0% financing. If they do that, I'll go buy the lens. If I get another coupon email saying we're going to give you 10% off any full price purchase and 0% financing, I'll go buy it. That's why I bought the Panasonic S5. It's a $2,300 camera, but I got 10% off and 0% financing. So I bought it, because I don't have to pay for it for like a year and a half anyway. But unless I get a deal, some kind of sale or deal like that, I'm going to have to wait. And it's not like I have a photo job that I need to use it for right away anyway. Because the problem, I use a Panasonic 7 to 14 and I use my 8mm fisheye. And the problem I'm having is I can't use the 8mm fisheye when I do video. And so that's why I bring the 7 to 14, because I do video when I do my photo jobs now. The 7 to 14 fits that bill. But if I'm bringing the 7 to 14 anyway, I might as well use it instead of the 8mm fisheye, even though I have some flaring problems time to time. And that's the biggest problem I have with the Panasonic 7 to 14 is I get this horrendous purple flaring on some shots that's virtually impossible to fix in post-processing. But so now I'm just bringing the 7 to 14 and just working around that purple flaring. And if I had photo jobs every week, even just a couple of times a week, I would buy that lens right now. Yeah, no question. But I can't, since I'm not getting jobs every week, I can't just drop $1,100. But if I get 0% financing and some kind of deal like 10% off, or if it goes on sale for like $200 off, I'll buy it because I know I will use it, and that extra savings helps a lot. And John Matthews says the real question for the 8 to 25 is how often do you need 8 to 12? I prefer the 12 to 40 Pro because it's more versatile. Yes. I'm looking at it from from a professional standpoint of view, because it'll replace my 8mm fisheye and 7 to 14 Panasonic. I can just bring that one lens to do both videos and photos. When I think about it from an enthusiast standpoint, just going out and taking photos, having that wide angle is nice. I would definitely shoot wider all the time, especially for street photography, because I like architecture. I would shoot wider all the time. So it's a matter of the kind of shooting that you enjoy to do, right? The 12 to 40, definitely that extra reach is nice. But I don't find myself using that longer reach very much, except when I'm doing close-up photography, like bugs and flowers. The 12 to 40 Pro is hard to beat. But for longer zooms, I would prefer to use my 45 or 75 prime rather than the 12 to 40 Pro. So my choice would be the 8 to 25, and then maybe pack in, 45 or 75 prime on a photo walk. But yeah, my use between 25 and 40. Let me just look at my Lightroom catalog real quick. So at the wedding, it's taking a second to load here. So let me put in focal length. So from 26 millimeters to, let me select raw. So how many pictures is that? Give me I'm sorry, one second. I got to rearrange this. I got to put focal length first, and then I'll just say lens. It doesn't matter. Let me get rid of this column. Oh, dumbass. I got to put focal length first, and then let's just do lens. We'll make this file type raw. And then why are there so many here? Okay, so let's look at a real life example. Here's my, how do I get to that page? I'm going to show you guys. Okay, here's Ellie at the hotel. But these are the wedding photos, right? So I use the 12 to 40 Pro mostly. But 640 images here, right? So if we go from 12 to 25, I did 148 images. So the other 500 roughly were, let's just go to there. Yeah, 490 I did over 25 millimeters. And that's mostly because of these kind of pictures here. I stood pretty far away and took most of the pictures of 40 millimeters for this part of this the event. All of these. But yeah, so I used it roughly 3 times more, the 40 millimeter length, than I did anything under 25. See, what you think you do and then what you actually do can be different sometimes, right? Let's just pick the entire year, 2021. So for 2021, I took 10,000 raw images, and I have 1,000 images over 25 millimeters. So 26 millimeters and higher, I have 1,000 images. 25 millimeters and lower, I have 2,600. So, okay, so what I'm thinking is right. I took 2,644 images, 25 millimeters and under. And I only took 1,000 images, 26 millimeters or higher. So for me, right, I got to switch back. So for me, the 8 to 25 makes more sense, right? Based on what I've shot this year in total. When you average all the pictures I took all together. So I think one second, what happened to my chat window? So I think for me, yeah, the 8 to 25 makes a lot of sense because you know, I'm taking 2.5 times as many pictures under 25 millimeters. And thank you, Darko. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for the $5 there. You know, just let me give a general thank you to everyone that's bought me a coffee or sent me a donation from my robtrek.com support. It doesn't go unnoticed. I really appreciate everyone's generosity. And even if you can't donate, you know, the likes and the comments that I get are just simply the best way to support me is just give me a little validation and just like my videos or leave a comment, you know, whether it's, you know, criticism or praise, either way, leaving a comment helps me immensely and supports my channel as well, or supports me in a way that keeps me going. So thanks everyone for all of your support, whether it's through likes and comments or through donations. It's very, very much appreciated. Let's see. And then John Matthews again says, you're right. The pricing is too steep on it. Yeah, $8.99. I think that would have been, but I'm just wondering if we're a little bit, you know, if we're living in a new reality where things are just going to start to cost more. I just don't know. Time will tell, though, because when these things start hitting the used market on eBay and places like that, if the price is like half what it's selling for new, then you know people think it's overpriced. But you take the Pen F, for example, you know, I can't think of a lens right now, but you take the Pen F, for example, that thing still is selling used for almost as much as it is new, it feels like. So the market's telling you that that camera is priced about right. For various reasons, because pricing is not always about technical specs and capability. It's about, you know, people want, sometimes people's wants get in there, right? Desires for a product drive the price up more so, and being rare or something special. There's all kinds of reasons it drives the price up, but you know, the 8 to 25 is on a level playing field. It's just a lens, right? So we'll see if the market, but if the used market is saying, hey, you know, brand new it's 1,100, if you want to buy it used it's 900, then that's telling you people are getting, you know, you're getting your money's worth, you know, or people feel like it's worth that much. Jan Island says the Panny 7 to 14 is my go-to video lens. Yeah, but I get purple flaring on that sometimes when I'm doing outdoor shots for my real estate and it's a sunny day. Oh my God. I mean, it's not as bad in video as it is in a photo, right? You don't want purple flaring in a photo. In a video, you know, as you're panning and stuff, that flaring just moves and it adds maybe some drama to the image. I don't know, some visual interest. So it's not, it doesn't bother me quite as much in video as it does the photos, but it's still very dominant even in the videos. Yeah, wait a year, see if the price drops. Yeah, I don't think it'll take that long because we have October coming, right? Black Friday and the holidays. So I think we'll see some good deals after the summer. Fall savings maybe August, September, we'll see some sales on it. At least I hope so. And higher prices because the US dollar is devaluing could be. Like I said, there's just too many variables. It's a much bigger problem than my brain can solve. Uh oh, Ed Taylor Ray is here. How are you? And Rob says, John Yutze says, in reference to prices, even the plastic fantastic 40 to 150 is 150 now. Yeah, exactly. It's hard. You used to be able to buy that lens $99 all day long. If it wasn't $99 today, it will be tomorrow, kind of thing, right? It was like constantly. Now it's like 99. And then if you look at some of the used prices or refurbished prices from Olympus directly, they're not coming down. And that could be partially because of the valuing of the dollar or whatever. I don't know. I see a question here. Christine M says, what do you think? How does the Laowa 7.5 millimeter fit into the games as for the time being? Ersatz for the range between 18, 8, and 12. If you're saying, if the question is, does the 7.5 millimeter, is it good enough that you don't really need to go 8 to 12 millimeters? Like, say you have the 12 to 40 Pro, right? And you want to get a wide angle lens and add the 7.5 Laowa. That in theory makes a lot of sense. You can forego that range between 8 and 12 if you have a 7.5, right? Rectilinear lens, not a fisheye. I think, yeah, you're fine. With the usual drawbacks, there's no autofocus. But other than that, yeah, if you just want to, swap lenses between a 12 to 40 or your kit lens and a 7.5 millimeter, you're fine. That's a great budget way to, it's a great compromise in terms of budget to get really everything you need, because you can crop in a little bit, right? If 7.5 is too wide, just crop in a little or walk a little bit closer if you can. It's not a big deal. And that's exactly what I do in my professional work when I use my 8 millimeter fisheye lens. Is, yeah, I'm shooting much wider than I need to all the time, but that gives me the flexibility to crop in a little bit and do other perspective, distortion type problems that I run into. Wider angle lenses give you the ability, at loss of some resolution, but they give you the ability to make perspective corrections that you wouldn't otherwise normally be able to do if you had a tighter lens, say 12 millimeters. So an example of that would be like if I have to point up slightly to capture, all 4 stories of this building, and I have to point the camera up. And let's say I can capture everything in 12 millimeters. If I point the camera up a little bit, then when I take it back in the post-processing and I have to come back and I have to make any corrections, it's a problem because it was too tight and maybe the top of the building gets chopped off or other things, right? But if I shoot wider than I need to, I shoot at 7.5 millimeters. Now I got lots of sky above. I have the parking lot in the front. Everything's nice and wide. I can point the camera up, take a picture, then go into post-processing and do that perspective correction, right? And not lose any part of the building. I can still get the entire building in the frame. So I think it's a great compromise, and it's actually something I do in practice. I always shoot wider when I'm shooting professionally. I always shoot wider than I need, so I can make slight adjustments to perspectives distortion, right? And for normal photography, where you don't care about perspective distortion, uh, it still helps to shoot a little bit wider than you need, because, it eliminates any kind of vignetting. It also lets you reposition and reframe the image to exactly how you want it, because maybe, uh, you took the picture, but then when you're looking at it in post, it's like, oh, if I framed it a little bit differently, I could have gotten a more pleasing image. But when you shoot wider than you need to, you can always just crop in and frame it the way you want. So even for regular photography, shooting wider than you really need is good practice, in my opinion, for all of those reasons. So yes, I would say that's a great great way to go. Just get the widest lens you can that's decent, like this Laowa, and it gives you all the flexibility you need, right? Because think about it. If they had a lens and camera combination, let's say it shot, 1 millimeter. I don't know. Let's not get stupid. Let's say we have a 7.5 millimeter lens and a 100 megapixel sensor, and it was tack sharp. You know, there'd be almost no need to have a zoom lens, right? Because you could just take one picture, crop in, zoom, do these corrections and things, and that would be the only lens you need if you had like this 100, 200 megapixel sensor. Um, depth of field aside, right? Unless you're going for other types of effects. But, when you're shooting wide angle, 7.5 millimeter, you're not worried about depth of field. You're more interested in what's in the frame, what you're capturing, what are the elements. And that's why, you know, that's I don't know why I gave like a 30-minute answer to really a very simple question, but those are my thoughts on that. Rick Bear says zoom lenses always have some kind of aberrations, and the greater the range of focal lengths, the more aberrations. Yes, absolutely, because zoom lenses, they're just optically, it's very difficult to design a lens that will zoom in and out without a compromise somewhere in the focal range. Um, Most zoom lenses are best when they're wide at 14 millimeters or 75, whatever the range is. I have found that when you shoot them at their widest focal length, that's when they're best. And then as you start to zoom in, you may have some very minimal degradation throughout the zoom range, but then when you get towards the ends of the zoom range, that's when you start to see more compromises. And so there's definitely compromises with the zoom. Now they're so much better than they were in the film days. That's why if you go on eBay and you look at zoom lenses on eBay for film cameras, they are dirt cheap, $10, $20, right? Doesn't matter the focal range because they're crap. And modern lens design has improved significantly to the point that you almost don't need a prime lens for a lot of the zooms. You can use a zoom instead and get extremely sharp images. But still, that the rule of thumb is, zoom lenses will never perform as well as a single prime at the same focal length, because primes, obviously, they're not going to have barrel distortion, or they're not supposed to, but they're going to have less distortions, less aberrations, because they could design everything into that one lens for one focal length. And Drost effect, thanks for ensuring you appreciate my hometown. Oh, sure. Let's see. And System Mature says, my choice of lenses to take with me on my wildlife up to Scotland at the end of the week is the 8 to 18, 12 to 35, and a 40 to 150, 150 to 400. All options covered. Pretty much. I mean, you got everything from 8 millimeters to 400 millimeters. Plus the 1.25. I think I don't really see any gaps there. I mean, there's 36 to 39 millimeter gap, but who cares about that? You're pretty much covered. That Lumix 8 to 18 is an interesting lens. That's a lens I might consider over the Panasonic. I'm sorry. The Lumix 8 to 18 is a lens I might consider over the Olympus 9 to 18. What's kind of held me back is just the size of it. But I'm going to look at that again, that lens again for myself, for my professional work. But if I can get an 8 to 25 for just a little more, I would definitely go that way. And Brana's here. Good to see you. And let's see. John Truman says, can you reflect on the drive-by photography small town USA video? Okay, I will. Let me just get a little bit more caught up and I'll come back to that. Pen F is overpriced. You can get an OMD Mark II for less money, a better camera. Yeah, there's a lot of cosmetic reasons that people want the Pen F, not so much technical reasons, right? Some people just love the design like me. And, you know, there's nothing in the Pen F that you can't do with an OMD camera of any genre. Once you get into the workspace, you can do the color corrections and all of that. But the Pen F is a very unique camera, I think, in terms of design and build quality and features that you won't find on any other Olympus camera. Like, I love that creative dial. So it, you know, I personally, I am a little surprised that it's holding its value so well after all these years. Because I was hoping to get another one for like $300 or $400 by this time, you know, but I can't. For camera bodies themselves, Tony says that the current computer chip shortage will increase prices and delay releases, and of course, not only for cameras. I saw the thumbnail for that video. I haven't watched it. So he may be right. I don't know. You know, he's said a lot of, he's had a lot of predictions that just I mean, he's doing his best. He wants to give everybody a heads up, I think, and as much information and his opinion on things. So I'm not going to knock anything he says, but I'm not going to waste 10 or 15 minutes of my life watching that video, as it's just it's not something I have any control over anyway. But if it, I don't think the chip shortage, if that's true, is really affecting, it might affect delivery times, but I don't think it's affecting prices quite as much as the billion other factors going into the market. That's probably one of the smallest impacts on price, in my opinion, is a chip shortage. If a camera was, now if it was only that, and let me tell you my experience with this is, you know, when cameras are coming out, if cameras were coming out every 2 or 3 months, like new cameras, then I think a chip shortage would have a bigger impact on the pricing of the camera. But because cameras come out every couple of years, you know, I don't see it affecting the price of the camera directly in the short term. Because anything on the shelf now, you know, these are chips that they bought a year ago or whenever, right? They bought them some time ago, long before this chip shortage started. And for cameras that come out a year or two from now, you know, they're going to bake the pricing in, or the manufacturers are going to just wait out till the chip shortage is over and the prices come down again before they start manufacturing. So I don't, you know, because they have a little bit of time on their side. Now in the computer business, it's different. right? Chip pricing has a big impact on computer prices because these things are manufactured at a volume every month, every week. And if you need to build a system uh, to order, because you go to Dell or you go to any of the other website, they build the systems to order a lot of times. I'm not talking about the off-the-shelf stuff you get at Best Buy. I'm talking about built to order, right, type systems. Those prices will fluctuate a lot because they're building them on demand, and they have to charge you the current pricing of whatever the chips are costing them. So in that in that kind of market where things are, being built very quickly and are very sensitive to current market pricing, but I don't see camera tech being that sensitive to current market pricing long term. That's just my feeling. I I don't think so. And now it certainly will cause delays, right? And if there's any short-term price increases because of lack of inventory, right? So they're going to be charging full price, maybe a premium, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about chip prices going up and that price being built into the camera, thereby raising the price. That I don't think is quite as big a deal. And Rob Trek, I've also noticed it harder to find good deals on used market. Yeah, it is getting harder. That's probably a supply issue, obviously. But when prices of new things keep going up, used things kind of follow along a little bit for in our industry, right? Camera stuff. It's just like everything else. New cars prices go up, used car prices go up, accordingly. I mean, there's exceptions and lots of market forces there, but yeah, what we were talking about earlier, whatever that video was that Tony put out about chip prices going up or shortage or whatever, I don't see that affecting the current pricing on stuff on the shelf now. I just don't see it. Or the long-term pricing. Like I don't think the Pen EP7 being priced at $799 is because there's a chip shortage, right? Because that's a camera that's not even on shelf yet. I don't think that's part of it. If it is, it's very small part, few dollars maybe, but Mike Colley, OMD Mark III 12 to 40 or OMD 1 Mark II with a 12 to 100, mainly for landscape. Someone coming from Nikon, I used a lot of filters and thought's been looking around at them for too long, getting muddled. Yeah, OMD EM1 Mark II with the 12 to 100, I think is a better choice for you. That's because the 12 to 100 is an excellent lens and you're already kind of used to a heavier system anyway. So this will be a nice transition where you'll have one lens that covers a huge range and is tack sharp, right? Because you're getting a 24 to 200 kind of range, but it's not a 24 to 200 kind of quality. It's more like a prime lens cut type quality with that 12 to 100. And with the dual sync IS, with that double image stabilization, you're going to be able to do handheld shots that you've never been able to do with any Nikon system. Now, the EM5 Mark III with the 12 to 40 Pro, that to me is a little bit unbalanced. That 12 to 40 Pro is just, in my opinion, just not the right lens for that camera. A better choice would be the 12 to 45 f4 with that camera. And obviously I'm not knocking the 12 to 40 Pro. It's a great lens, but I think in terms of balance and handling, the 12 to 45 is a better choice. Even though you lose a stop of light, you'll be more likely to pick up that camera and use it with less awkwardness. It's just awkward for me. You may be fine with it. A lot of people are. People are fine. People always tell me, yeah, I have the EM10 Mark II and I use a 12 to 40 Pro, no problem, you know. I'm like, well, I can't do it. It's just too awkward for me. But yeah, for me, I would say my recommendation, because one is if you were on a Nikon system before, you're used to really good battery life. You're not going to get that with the EM5 Mark III. You will with the EM1 Mark II. So you're going to get excellent battery life, and you got that grip. The ergonomics of the EM1 Mark II is superior to Nikon in my opinion. So it's going to be more comfortable to hold. And then the weather sealing is going to be superior to the Nikon. Not that that's a deal breaker, but I'm not saying how much more superior it is to whatever Nikon, unless you had a Nikon like D4 or something, you know, then it's debatable who has the better weather sealing. But you know, you're going to get a camera, a professional grade camera, in a much more compact system. Just imagine going out with a 24 to 200 f4 on a Nikon system. You know, the best they have is that 24 to 105 f4, which did not get great reviews if I recall correctly. The 12 to 100 from Olympus is a much sharper camera lens than that Nikon version, and smaller, lighter, all of the things with the dual sync IS. So yeah, no question for the money. EM1 Mark II and 12 to 100 f4. Yeah, mainly for landscapes. Yeah, you will definitely appreciate the OMD1 Mark II. And Darko says, would you use primes only with your high-res shots, or would you consider a good zoom? Asking because I have not tried it yet. No, a good zoom will give you good results with high-res shot mode. So I'm comfortable using high-res shot mode with the 12 to 40 Pro lens, because I definitely see a difference or improvement, and of course any prime. But if you saw my video, I had the 14 to 150 kit lens, and I used the high-res shot mode on it, and I did see an improvement. Very subtle, but I did see an improvement. So I would not hesitate to use high-res shot mode on very clear scenes, right? As soon as you get to very hazy conditions, right, and very long distance type conditions, especially like in landscapes, it's a total waste. But you will see an improvement on any lens using high-res shot mode for like product photography, indoor photography, you know, on static objects, and where things are very clear. But on a hazy day, let me go to yesterday's shots, and I shot. Let me see. This is standard. Those are panos. I think I did it here. This is a standard. Bear with me. Standard. High-res standard. All right, here's two shots. Let me see if I can go back to. Let me go back to the screen. Stop it. Compare. All right, so the image on the left, you can see the resolution here is, the standard 20 megapixel image. Image on the right is high-res shot mode. And I was using the 12 to 40 Pro lens. So if we punch in, this is not a great example because I missed focus. But anyway, see this group of flowers here? That's what this is over here. Let me zoom in a little more. So if I try to zoom in both at about the same magnification. So on the left is the normal shot, on the right is the high-res shot. So we're zoomed in at 300%. I'm exaggerating a little bit because I want you to be able to see the difference. But you can definitely see there's definitely more contrast, a little more detail. Like if you look at this little root or branch sticking out, I can clearly see there's 3 branches sticking out right here. Whereas on this image, it's so soft, I can just barely, I would not, if I didn't already know there was 3 branches there, I would not be able to see 3 little branches sticking out. Let's go to, I don't even know where my focus point is. Definitely not there. Not there. All right, let's look at these branches. But yeah, so it's a little better, right? Even with a pro lens, and this is the 12 to 40 zoom, you get a little more detail. That's not a great example. Let's see. Let me look at this one, this one, this one, this one. I don't think. Man, I took so many shots of this deer. They were all out of focus because there was grass like in front of the deer. It kept focusing on the grass instead of the deer. I did end up getting one good shot, but I wish I could sort by like pixel size because then I could find it a lot easier. That's a normal. Oh, those are bracketed shots. Oh, here's a question for the group. What is this guy doing? He's got this dish. I don't want to zoom in that much. What is this guy doing with this dish? And then he had a guy, there was another guy standing about 10 yards away from him with this antenna system. So these are very distinct antenna designs, right? So you guys probably know what frequency that this antenna is designed for. And then this guy's with the dish. And then there's a van over here that I didn't get a picture of that has a bunch of antennas on it. So if anybody can tell me what the heck those guys were doing. Okay, I'm not going to be able to find another example fast enough. There's a high res. There's a high res. How about this one and this one? Well, anyhow, I'll just have to tell you verbally, other than that one example I showed you, that high-res shot mode improves things, but when it starts to get hazy, like you saw in these pictures, these landscape pictures, then it doesn't matter. High-res is wasted. So that's for Darko. And HCam is here. Hi, from Austria. Hope you had a few nice days. I did, thank you. And I will, yeah, John asked me to reflect on that a little bit. Birdsong parabolic microphone. That's you know, when I tried to talk to them, but they had their headphones on and they were just ignoring me. So I couldn't get an answer from them like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" I asked a couple times and they just didn't even make any eye contact with me when I was trying to talk to them. Like we would make eye contact for a split second, but then they just, so it's clear they didn't want to talk to me. The second one is a locator. Huh. All right, I'm sorry. Let me back up a little bit on the chat. Man, there was a lot of chatter there. What the heck? Did I ramble on for a while and then you guys just went nuts on the chat section? So Darko, yes, primes only with no. So yeah, you can use any lens, kit lenses, whatever. You'll definitely see a marked improvement on clear shots where there's not haze and all of that. Let's see. And anyone use a monocolor dial on the pen? I use it all the time. Yes. The EP7 has an improved version of the ability. Oh, really? Like I said, we don't have the EP7 out yet, and it's probably not coming to the US. So it's too bad. If it's improved over the Pen F, I might get it if it's available. And System Nature says the 8-18 has internal zoom, hence maybe why the lens is a little longer. But I think the seal and weatherproofing is good. Also standard filters. Yeah, there's a lot of attractive things. I didn't realize the zoom was internal, but that's a good feature. I would love a 10 millimeter f1.4. As far as I know, only Laura or Lawa, I'm sure is what you meant there. Wow. There's a 17 1.4 that Jimmy Chang just reviewed on his channel. He liked it a lot. But 10, I haven't seen. And here in Austria, restaurants and bars opened again, and they're closed since November. You can visit them. Yes. Things are pretty much open now here, for me anyway. I mean, I still see there's like spots where they request you wear a mask, but for the most part, you can go out and it's almost back to normal. For most of us. I was driving back from Shenandoah yesterday, and I saw a couple in a convertible on the highway, both wearing masks on their face. They have a convertible, and they're driving, and they're wearing masks. Anyway, that seemed unnecessary to me, but I don't want to judge. Wow, Casper says he just bought a new laptop for photo and video editing. Came 2 months late and cost about 20% extra. Yeah, so that's what I was saying about, yeah, in the computer industry where things are churned out on demand. Yeah, that's where you'll see big price increases. And Darko says, I noticed old film cameras have gone up. Okay, I need to get to my other thing and then wrap up. I noticed the old film camera pricing has gone up. I sold my Minolta XG1 and 50 millimeter lens for $200. Man, I got one of those. I paid $35 2 years prior. The SP100 Pentax with a 50 millimeter is $275 retail. Yeah, I don't get this price. I might have to ride this wave though. It won't last. Well, it might, but I got some film cameras I could sell. EM1 Mark II and 12 to 40 Pro is a killer combination for general photography, in my opinion. Yes, no question. That's definitely an option over the 12 to 100. But he was giving me an either. this or this. So I just answered it that way. An option would be EM1 Mark II with a 12 to 40 Pro, but there was a reason I think he wanted that extra focal length. So I didn't mention it, but it's definitely a valid option. Oh, cool. Rick, you're going to go meet with Jimmy and Red 35. That's cool. And John Yutze is asking, read about the bird photographer who was shot for 10 years with Canon and a 500 millimeter who had this surgery on both shoulders and now downsized. Oh, okay. I wouldn't be surprised. HCAM, here prices have gone up a lot for everything. It's time to buy whatever or invest in stock. Saving is losing. Sounds like reasonable advice. Mike Colley says, thanks, that was my way of thinking with the MFT crop. 100 would be the most tele I would need, and the extra stability change, mainly for weight. Yes. Oh, you were the one that asked the question originally. Yep. Birdsong parabolic microphone. Thank you. Interesting. So they're not taking pictures, they're doing audio of birds. That's interesting. Man, they had quite an elaborate setup just for some freaking bird song. I mean that looked expensive, that stuff. I don't know what the heck. Man, I don't know if I would. I don't know, but maybe they're doing it for a documentary or some. I don't know. God, those guys were not amateurs, man. They were hardcore. Because if you saw the truck, it had a bunch of antennas on it and more gear. And then that guy standing there with all that gear. You know, that's some hardcore stuff, man. And Range Rider says, probably tracking bears. Yeah, well, that could be too. I don't know what they were doing. And David Tellis says, they're ham radio guys. Dishes for gigahertz. The other is VHF, UHF satellite. That makes more sense. Because they seem to be trying to communicate with somebody. If I didn't mention that earlier. They were trying to communicate with somebody probably down in the valley there. And you know, those ham radio guys are just like us photography guys, you know, like we have gas, they have gas. They probably buy all kinds of stuff, right? But Tony B is pretty adamant here because he said it's a bird song with parabolic microphone and the second one is a locator. So I don't know. Those guys wouldn't talk to me, so I couldn't get a straight answer out of them. And John Yutze says they were tracking something that has a transmitter, maybe Bigfoot. Okay. And the guy, System Mature says the guy with the aerial dishes looks like the Russian spy to me. Yeah, that's what we were thinking. And Darko says the artist in 17 millimeters getting good reviews. Yeah, Jimmy liked it a lot. And Robin says it's 1 a.m. here. I got to go to sleep. Okay, man. We'll see you later. Thanks for stopping in, Robin. It's always good to see you. Food prices are going up. Yeah. Thanks, Darko. We'll see you later. All right, let me. Oh wow, I just hit the 2-hour mark, so I'm going to reflect on. If you're sound recording, no wonder they didn't want me talking to them, or it could have been the FBI. Yeah, I don't know. They were definitely. That was partially why I didn't push it. You know, like I didn't try to interrupt what they were doing. I would just try to make eye contact and then say, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And they didn't. They either couldn't hear me because they had their headphones on, or they just ignored me. Okay, let me reflect a little bit on the road trip because I think John was asking me about the Small Town USA video. And it was, you know, I was on my way back home, I think, for most of it. So I just put the camera in my lap with the 14 to 150, I believe. Some of them might have been with the 12 to 40. But I had the M1 Mark III, and I was shooting through the windshield half the time, and some of the shots were through an open window. And I'm driving like 55, 60 miles an hour, which is like 100 kilometers when I'm getting these shots. So a lot of the shots were blurry because I wasn't paying attention to my shutter speed. But then I put it in shutter priority and then auto ISO, and then some of the shots came out pretty good. But it was like every mile or 2 miles there'd be just this abandoned house or rundown building or house. And I don't know what it is about these kinds of photos, right? Abandoned buildings, rundown houses. They're just very interesting, but they're very sad at the same time, right? Like every broken shingle or door, broken window, and the way the grass and the wildlife, the brush is just growing all over the house sometimes. I feel like the reason these kind of pictures are kind of fascinating, with the paint peeling off, it's like that building, you're just seeing a whole story there about this building, because you think about how this building or house looked when it was brand new and what the area might have been like back when they built this building, and the kind of business it was running, because it looks like a lot of the buildings were repurposed over time. They were originally something else and now they're doing this. Like the most common thing I see is like gas stations get repurposed into antique stores. That I see a lot of. Like it used to be a gas station, but now it's an antique store. But when you look at those kind of pictures, it just, there's so many stories there, like an antique store, but it used to be a gas station. Or the way or I ran into this one house that was abandoned, but the lawn was cut. I couldn't figure that out. So I feel like, it makes you think about what happened that a house would be, or business would be left to decay, and go into disrepair like that. So I think that's why we find the images so interesting, because we all come up with our own stories about what's going on there. And that's why I really like taking those kind of pictures. And I think that's why a lot of those pictures are very attractive to photographers, abandoned buildings and things, because they do make for very interesting imagery, but because all the textures and colors sometimes, but also because of the story behind it and the kind of stories you imagine or see happening. But the small towns down in Southern Virginia, there was a lot of that, a lot, every mile. I mean, there was so many pictures that I wanted to show you, but they were blurry, but they were really interesting in that respect. And I think Rick says the houses were abandoned because they saw you and Ellie coming and ran away. Yes, and they are very photogenic. Yeah, anyway, I have them on my Flickr page and I have them on my Instagram. I think I have more on my Flickr page than my Instagram, but and you can see better detail on the Flickr page, such as it is, because like I said, I was moving when I took the pictures from my car at like 100 kilometers. So, they're not tack sharp, in other words. But it was interesting. And sometimes it's because people have passed away, like the houses, for example, maybe even the business. But people have passed away, and whoever inherited it didn't care about the house. And now they just own the land and might sell it one day, right? Or maybe the county or the state owns now because the person passed away with no one to leave it to. So now it just sits there, and it's in a location that has no real opportunity for development for the state. So they're like, well, so we own this land. We'll just, until we come up with somebody that wants to buy it or can do something with it, it's just going to sit there and rot, you know? So there could be a lot of reasons there's buildings and homes sitting around like that. Another common scene was, I'd see these abandoned houses, but they would be on the same property or in close proximity to very pristine homes. So what it might be is that the family still owns all of the property, but they didn't tear down the old house. They just built a new one, right? And moved into that. And they just let the old house, just deteriorate away rather than tear it down. So that I did see a lot of. I don't know what percentage of that I saw. That was probably at least maybe 10% to 20% of the photos of the abandoned homes and buildings were already kind of very in close proximity of very pristine homes. And so there's all kinds of stories or reasons that come to mind why the property is sitting there. So the fact that the property exists in that condition is interesting in itself, besides being photogenic. But then all the things, so that's why I would love to go back to these small towns, maybe spend a couple of days and get to meet some people and talk to them, and they probably know, right? These small towns with less than 1,000 people living in them, they probably know that house and who it belongs to and what happened, So it'd be really interesting. So I'm thinking about doing that as another project. So look for that later this summer, maybe. But I want to explore that town because I think I'm going to go back there actually for July 4th to that town called Independence, because there was something in Wikipedia about they have a big fireworks display there. So it'd be kind of neat to go to a different town and see fireworks and then take pictures and stuff. Yeah, Tony B says sometimes the end of people's dreams and aspirations are just a change in circumstances. Yeah. And HCam says, any recommendations about action cams? In between Osmo Action, GoPro 9, or Insta1R. Sound is very important. It would be my first one. All right. This is my take because I've given this a lot of thought. And the camera that I use is not necessarily the camera I would recommend, because I had to buy the camera based on any information I could find. But I'll tell you what I do have. I have the DJI Pocket Osmo. This is the first one that came out. And then I have the Insta360 1R. The battery's not on here, but this is basically the GoPro version. And there's a 360 attachment that I can put onto it. Sorry, I just saw your comment, John. You're funny. Independence on the 4th, July 4th. Just a small disagreement over tea, I thought. As a Brit, I would love to see more detailed study of the American in the range of view. We're all fascinated by places that are not what we are. Yeah, exactly. I would love to see more of Britain. But anyhow, back to HCam's question. So as far as sound goes, you can watch the vlogs that I did this week. I used this with they're charging up over here, but I used it with this Comica. Let me move this chat window out of the way. I can't. I use this with the Comica thing. I left everything. I left everything in the car. I'm gonna do a video about this camera actually when I get a chance. It's not important to the channel that I do this video, but I just want to share information because, you know, a lot of people ask me what's my vlogging setup and things. So I might. So I'm gonna use I use this with this wireless microphone in the last two vlogs. The one with not the small town America, because I was just driving in my car there and doing a voiceover. But let me look at my channel. The one where I was climbing Seneca Mountain, okay? That one and the one with the ponies in it, right? Those two vlogs, I use this camera, the Insta360 and this microphone. It's a wireless mic. You know, one attaches to the top and the other one just goes in my pocket, right? That's what I used for audio. And I would say it was decent. Okay, decent, not excellent, just decent. I had to do a lot of post-processing, not a lot. I do my normal click for noise reduction, click for compression and leveling. So I did some post-processing, but nothing major, just very simple things, compression and noise reduction. And that's the audio. Now, which video did I use this? This has very good audio compared to this. The Pocket, the DJI Pocket has very good audio compared to this. So if you want the best audio, DJI with, and I got the adapter, you know, the overpriced jack, but I use this with my wireless mic. And I do have some vlogs using that. Which one? Let me look at my channel. I can tell you which one you can look at. Dang it. I believe episode definitely the truck graveyard one. I used the DJI Pocket Osmo. It was very windy, so it's not a fair assessment of the audio quality, but I used it there, and I probably used it with the okay, this is a good one too. The one right after that is the Olympus Pen F with my favorite lens. Episode 305. So episode 304 and 305, I used the DJI Pocket Osmo. And then episode 313 and 314, I used the Insta360 so that'll give you an idea of the audio quality and with the processing. But straight out of camera, DJI Pocket Osmo is way superior. Okay, let me check the chat again. So HCam is asking about, I don't know anything about the GoPro 9. I've never used it. Now, this is the thing, okay? This is the thing with these action cams. The DJI Pocket Osmo, the first one, there's no way to use the microphone and charge the camera at the same time. So I kept running into the challenge of, after about an hour, this thing would be almost dead. I'd have to take the microphone out and plug the power cord in and charge this up. And then so if you're watching those vlogs, there's a possibility if the audio sounds bad, it's because I went to the the internal mics on the DJI Osmo. But when the audio sounds good, it's because I'm using the external. But that's the problem I run into. And you can't change batteries on this, right? So I run into that problem a lot with this. That's why I got this, because I can change the battery anytime, right? So I got an extra battery for it. I got 2 batteries. I probably need to get a third one. And I can hook up with the stupid mic jack thing. It's only $10 though to get the mic connector. You have to buy this. You have to buy this stupid thing, right? This little tiny mic adapter and plug it in. All right. But the audio quality is probably half as good as the DJI Osmo. But I'm pretty content with this setup because I can change batteries when the batteries get low, and it lasts just about an hour of random vlogging. I mean, there are tests people do where they just turn the camera on and let it run for like an hour and a half. In real life, you know, you're only going to get about 45 minutes of video time, and you're going to vlog for a couple of hours. So you need at least 2 batteries, maybe. I need to get a third battery to use this consistently. So I'm going to do a whole video on the vlogging setup of using this camera, but I'm still not happy that I have to change batteries so often when I'm vlogging. And I'm not happy with the audio quality. It's usable and it's fine because, you know, I don't care about audio that much, long as people can understand and hear me. But for people, if you're more interested in audio quality, this may not be a great choice. Now, this is the real problem with all of these solutions, whether it's the GoPro 9, this one, or this Instapocket 3.1R, is this one, it doesn't last long because I have to constantly change batteries. This one doesn't last long. You can't change batteries, so you have to recharge it in the middle of your vlog. And in both instances, you tie up the USB 3.0 jack if you want to use continuous power. That's a problem. And if you're using continuous power, you cannot use external mics. So you spend, I spent $500 on this. I spent $300 on this. And then I spent, you know, if you'd have to spend another $200 on a wireless mic system. So let's look at the Insta360 1R. This is $700 for a wireless mic and this stupid camera. They now have a DJI Pocket Osmo version 2, which I'm seriously considering getting, because for $500, if you get the creator pack, for $500, you get the camera and then you get the little adapter, which allows you to have a wireless mic and run continuous power to the camera. So it solves the battery problem I keep running into, because I have this. I got this for $25. This will run this camera for over 4 hours. Either camera, my 1R, or I can run about 4 hours with this little adapter. And I just plug this into my selfie stick or tripod. You know, it's a 1/4-20 screw, so I'll put an Arca Swiss plate or whatever. And then you have your GoPro mount right here. And then I just wrap this power cord and I plug it right into the camera. I can go 3-4 hours, no problem with this setup. And that's perfect, except I can't use an external mic if I'm using this power. But the DJI Pocket 2 solves that problem for $500. You get the wireless mic and you get the continuous power option and the gimbal and all of that. And then you can use this as continuous power on top of, and then you put this on a selfie stick. So they didn't have the DJI Pocket 2 when I bought this Insta360 1R last year. But if I had to do it over again, that's what I would buy right now, is the DJI Pocket 2 with the creator pack and wireless mic, because now I can use wireless mic and continuous power and vlog for 3 or 4 hours. at least, with that setup, which I cannot do with what I have now. You cannot do that with the GoPro, as far as I know. Set up an external mic and external power. As far as stabilization goes, just to get back to the video side, this is pretty good. The built-in digital image stabilization, I'm very happy with it. It's as good as a gimbal, but a gimbal gives you options that you cannot do with this. So I would say if you want good audio and a lot of video options, the DJI Pocket 2 with the creator pack for $500, and then you get a $25 power thing to hook onto, right? Like this. You're set. You're set for $525 versus spending $500 for this, $200 for like a Rode Go mic or whatever. I have it sitting over there, but I like this one better, this Comica. So you're out $700. That's a much more expensive option, and that's the problem I have with these setups. You know, 300 plus 200 for the wireless mic. I'm up to $500, but I have no continuous power option. So anyway, HCam, that is my advice. If audio is important, because if it's very important, the DJI Pocket 2 has a 3.5 millimeter jack also in the creator pack. So if you don't want to use the wireless mic that they give you with it, then you can hook up your own 3.5 millimeter jack. And I can tell you, if the audio is as good as my version 1, you'll be fine. All right. Let me check the chat. And then, does that sound recording device have any one of those fluffy covers? Yes, this does come with a 3.5 millimeter jack. So I usually use the lav mic with a little foam covering, and I can put that microphone under my shirt so it eliminates all the wind noise. So I don't really have a problem with wind noise on this when I use the lav mic. But I believe it came with the fluffy thing that you can attach directly to this, because this has its own microphone built in. And the Rode Go mics, which I don't know, I have somewhere over there, have the fluffy things too. But it's a $200 edition, right? So, okay. And Christine says, I agree. Augment the photography for oral history by local people. Maybe publish the pop pro. Yeah, I have to do that. And then can you put links to these items when you set up the replay recording of this live stream so we can find them? Yeah. And Lauren says, hi, everyone. I have been setting up my new iMac. I just clicked on YouTube. Don't tell Rob. I don't believe it. Lauren, you got a Mac? After all the nonsense you told me you had to go through at the Apple Store? Well, congratulations. I can't say anything. I bought an iPad Pro. So, you know, who am I to judge? We all have our demons. Yeah, the fluffy thing's a tribble. Yeah, the little tribbles. Thank you, Lauren. Anyway, HCam, I hope that helps. If you have any other questions about a vlogging setup, I'm with you, because I'm going through the same struggles. I really like the options I can get with this gimbal on the Pocket Osmo. But the battery life is a problem. I can't use an external mic and continuous power. It's just it's a headache. Oh, you went to Costco and got it. Well, there you go. Oh, you want to use it on a bike? Oh, then you don't want to use the DJI. Yeah, this gimbal will get rattled to death. It's not going to work. then the option might be one of these GoPro, like either Insta360 The GoPro has better image stabilization. The GoPro 9 has better image stabilization than the Insta360 No question. No question it's better. It's very good on this, good enough for vlogging. But if you're talking about being on a bike, whether it's a motorcycle or a regular pedal bike, trail bike, you want to get the GoPro. I don't know how the sound quality is on. I assume it's fine, better than this. It wouldn't be this doesn't set the bar very high for audio, because this has a Bluetooth option where you can use your AirPad Pro earbuds with this, but the audio quality sucks when you use Bluetooth with this. So don't think you're going to get Bluetooth audio with this and get good audio. It's not going to happen. That's why I bought this $10 mic adapter and used this $200 wireless mic thing, and just to get semi-decent audio. But if you're talking about a setup on a bike, you want the best image stabilization, GoPro 9, and then whatever microphone solutions they have, I'm sure are very good, but I don't own one myself. It's pedal. I need to lose some weight. Oh, all right. Yeah, still stay away from the Osmo then. It's going to get rattled to death and break. So you want one of these. The Insta360 I like the 360 option. And if the audio quality doesn't have to be perfect, then this is a good camera. I did have a Bluetooth audio option, of course. That means it's time for me to go. Give me a second. I did have a Bluetooth audio option that was working well until I did a firmware update on the Insta360, and now it sounds like crap. So Insta360 is one firmware update away from having decent Bluetooth audio. One more firmware update. They need to fix it the way it was before, because I did get one Bluetooth audio microphone working, but that was a $140 Bluetooth microphone, right? Because you can buy the freaking headsets for like, $35. Those suck. This $140, it was I think a Sabintech. I can't remember the name of it. It was great. And then they did a firmware update, and then it sucked. And then it sucked. It sounded terrible. Oh. No, don't get the Zoom H1. That I have one of those. I never use it. Yeah, that's overkill for GoPro 9 anyway. If you want to record audio, and you don't need to be wireless, right? Let me think, what's a good audio recorder? This. Oh. Any voice recorder like you see the students buy for lectures, they're like $60. They have cheaper ones. Don't get the cheaper ones. I have a cheap one. It sucked. But I got about a $60 one by Sony audio recorder that you can plug a microphone into. That would be better than a Zoom H1. The Zoom H1, it's $100. Look, it's been sitting. I have not used this thing in years, since it came out. This is the H1N. Yeah, great sound, but it's very awkward to use, because it has all these extra features, right? And this dial, and the record button is like placed here. You need to get one of those student voice recorders that have the buttons on top, so you can just have it in your pocket. Click, 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 You can start and stop it if you want to. You can have it on continuously, whatever. And maybe a $40 one. $40 or $50 one. Something half the price of this will be good enough if you want to just do audio into a recorder. I'm holding it wrong. Just wait a while. I never give stuff away. I should. I want to, but I can't even sell things, let alone give them away, you know? But you know, you buy these things because you watch a YouTube video and they tell you this thing is freaking awesome and it's going to solve all your problems and you'll never have to buy another audio device ever. And then I buy it and never use it. You know, I think it's going to solve a problem, but then you run into the problems that they don't really, that, you know, everybody's situation is unique. This might be the perfect solution for somebody. But for me, this was not, mainly because the record button is right here. What works for me 100 times better, I paid $35 for this because I got it as a refurb. The Olympus VP10 microphone. The button is right here on top. And I can put it right here. And if I want to start recording, click. I want to stop recording, click. Piece of cake. And this is really good at rejection of rustling noise. So if I have this in my pocket or I have it here, the little bit of rustling from my shirt and stuff doesn't get picked up by this microphone. It's not bad at all compared to this. My God, you just breathe on this thing and it picks up that sound. If I had it in my pocket using the microphones on top, there is no way that this would, you know, it would be just so noisy because of all the rustling noise. I could switch to it right now. It sounds really good because I can put it, I'm using this now, right? This is a great boom mic, by the way. I could put this on now and use this instead of this, but this has got sort of a, the pattern's not quite as tight. So when I was using this as audio for my live streams, it was picking up the sound from my laptop here, because the laptop fan noise, right, is running, and it was picking up sounds from Ellie. It was just the sound pattern was too wide. Whereas this has a nice boom. Like if I put this, well, if I put it right up to my mouth, I need to speak a little softer. But you know, like you can probably hear that. Maybe not. The are you guys hearing me at all? Come to think of it, because I don't see my microphone thing going. Wow, that's funny. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, so if I put this, oh, it doesn't pick up the fan noise too well because I got the low cut filter on. But anyway, yeah, this sucked. I mean, like I said, it sucked for me. It may be a good solution for other people, but it wasn't for me. So anyhow, it's been a couple hours. I need to, I should probably head out. Any last, let me just check the chat before I go. Yeah, Sis Mature is going to dinner. Or my bank statements printed in wet writing. I just look online. I don't get printed ones anymore. All right, guys and ladies, thanks for spending 2.5 hours with me today. I know this is a little bit longer stream, but I did ramble and I did want to cover a lot of things, and hopefully I answered some questions and helped you guys out. This week I probably will I'm going to try and do another vlog. I'm going to talk about Photolab 4 in a video, why I bought that. I'm going to start a new series called Rob Trek Buys and things that I've actually bought and use and don't use. Like I might make a video about this stupid thing or just microphones in general. But I definitely want to make a video about my vlogging setup because people have been asking me about that. But all right, everyone, you guys have a great week. Happy Father's Day again to all who are fathers. And we'll see you guys again probably Sunday. But look out for some videos this week. I'm going to do my best to crank out 3 or 4 more out. So thanks again. We'll talk to you later. And as always, I can never figure out how to end this stream. There's a button somewhere. I never have the right page up. There it is. All right. See you guys later. Wait, that didn't do it. I got to click another button.